How you guys doing here out there? It's Douglas Hamadi here for another episode of the Mic Drop Club. Today, I got my cousin, my best friend in the house as well. We're going to be discussing all things to do with pushing that record button. That's right. Some of you guys are too scared to go live. So I figured we'd have a conversation and just explore some of the hidden things that we are experiencing that's preventing us from pushing that infamous record button. So with no further ado, I'm going to bring Everton into the equation. Everton, what's up? You okay?
Hey everyone, it's Evie B here, Everton Barton. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm really good.
You're good? Good. And I thought, let's have a conversation today and about how's your journey been in this live streaming game and what sort of issues have come up your way?
It's quite interesting. You're always going to encounter tons of new
like that. You see?
Yeah,
you see like that. You see like that. And that's how we keep it real. That's what we're talking about. Unscheduled interruptions.
Unscripted interruptions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how really it is, because this game is brutal. And I tell anyone that wants to get in this game, first and foremost, you got to be prepared for the unexpected. Okay. And typically what I've come to appreciate and respect now more than ever, and respect to all the other live streaming channels that promote checklists, is to keep a very up-to-date checklist and all the technical things that you need to cover before you go live. You know, the sound check, you know, your lighting, your equipment, you know, even do the same thing with the guests that are coming online as well. So in terms of your journey, Ev, you know, I know I can see they're texting, typing, you know.
Yeah, I just decided that I've got a couple of students that I mentor, and they wanted to know if I was going to come on this live stream today. So I said to them, yep, I'm going to be doing that. I'm just going to be hooking up on the Mic Drop Club. And so I'm just about to give them a quick link and get them and send it to them and see how they respond to this. They even have some questions for me.
No, that's good. That's good. And like I was saying, this game is not for the faint-hearted, but it can also liberate you. One thing I've come to realize over the years is when I do get over myself and press the record button and get over the nerves, I'll get to that point whereby it's just me and the microphone. So what I do try to encourage people is to don't overcomplicate the things you need to do before you go live. Don't try and overcomplicate it. Keep it very, very simple and basic, because every piece of apparatus that you're going to be using to engage with is a degree in itself. It is something that you require mastery. And for every show you do and you introduce a new piece of tech and you've not tested it out fully in a live environment, you know, you really don't know how good it is going to be. So there's been a lot of chopping and changing in terms of my in terms of my kit. There's been a lot of changing in terms of my delivery, my style of delivery, to get myself to the point whereby it's just natural. But you have to go through the pain, because when you first start off, you have your voice that feels foreign to you. So it took me a little while to find the voice, to find the mic that best reflects my voice, the way I want to project it. And that's expensive. That was an expensive journey I had to go on. But nevertheless, I went on the journey, and now I feel I've got the mic and the settings just right, so that when I do hear myself back, you know, it's like, ugh. Do you know that? You know, when you hear your voice back, you're, oh, really? Yeah. Really, that's me? You know? Yeah. So what was it like when you first heard your voice?
Sometimes you start to get tempted to try and put on your radio voice, and now you don't sound like your normal self. So when you go into a different show, you don't sound like what you started with, and that can be a key problem. So yeah, it's really about some of these technical issues
this is what I'm talking about.
Just suddenly start. Yeah, see, it's happening again. I'm not even sure. But these are some of the teething processes that we go through when we're trying to do this, set up this live streaming, and we watch other people on there, and it's like, oh, how comes theirs is working fine, and how comes Mine's is not. This is how you test it out. One of
Yeah.
your shows has got to be your proof of concept. Is this show going to work using the method that you've set up? Is this going to work going forwards? Right now, I've switched cameras to the one that's more close up and zooming on me, because the other camera kept on blacking out, and that doesn't normally happen. I don't know whether I've got so many leads connected into some of my gear. So let me just quickly explain to you some of the gear that I've got on here.
Okay, go ahead. And if you can pan around, that'd be useful if you can. If you can't, just
No.
do the description. Do a description.
Cameras are set up. My cameras are set up in a position that doesn't allow for that to happen.
Okay.
But in this, for the setup that I've got here, I've got a Roadcaster. So that's where all my audio is coming through. And that was obviously on recommendation of yourself, because we did some due diligence on what would be really good a piece of gear to actually get all that audio in. And there's some good reasons why you would use something like a Roadcaster. Is it also allows you to record the audio direct. So what I've got happening now is I've got my mic plugged into my Roadcaster, but I've also got my computer's audio coming back into my Roadcaster. So my Roadcaster can actually hear Douglas on and record his voice within that system. So that helps. And so you've got that copy at my end, even though I'm not the host of the show. Then what I have is something called a Black Magic ATM Mini. That has all my cameras. Right now, I've got one of my cameras decided that it wants to play Silly Buggers, or otherwise I would be in this format right now.
You're lucky we're not doing acronyms as well. That's for a different show. Because as Everton's doing the description there, I'm like kind of thinking, is he going to go there? So no, just don't go there. Keep it professional. Keep it regal.
Yeah, so
keep it regal.
You can look up the Black Magic ATM Mini.
It just sounds wrong. It just sounds wrong. I think let's call it out there. Not everybody's got a mind that is riddled with filth. Let's be honest. But if they could ever think of something that had so many innuendos to it, Black Magic ATM. Do you know what?
In actual fact,
you know what?
How you Google that.
Yeah. It's one of those ones you got to Google right in the quietness of the night, and the laptop just semi-opened, opacity down to 12%. It's one of those ones. So. Yeah. Please. But they could have thought of something else. They could have thought of something else. But nevertheless, I do totally agree with you. It's a fantastic tool, and still going down I'm still going downhill with these acronyms. But it's such a fantastic device. No, I'm still going down there. No, it is just a fantastic piece of kit that will enable you to feed in multiple cameras and treat them as one camera feed into your computer effectively.
And as
so
you can see, just from here, I'm just switching this. It's just if I had multiple cameras, like even more cameras, then I could switch more. So if I just use as an example, let's see if I can get this example up and running. This should work. So nope, that's not happening just yet. We'll see if that does happen. Here we go. So as you can see, I'm jumping straight into my gaming system. So again, that's another feed that gets me straight into my Xbox. And so that's actually quite cool. It's like I said, it's a mold. It allows 4 inputs, 1 output straight back into your computer, and then allows me to stream out to whoever is the recipient of that, whether it be YouTube, whether even this on Ecamm, and I'm the guest, so I still got control over how I want to be presented on.
And equally so, I can also manipulate your picture settings as well. But I think the fundamental thing I want to get across here is all the tech that you can have, all it does is add more complexity and adds more routes to error. And that can, if you're a perfectionist, that can really, really grate at you, because out of all the elements that you can count, something's going to go wrong. Absolutely. And trying to figure out what that thing's going to go wrong affects your processing power in delivering the best content that you can. What you want to do, the ideal situation you want to get to, is literally like when you learn how to drive and you go through the process whereby you're unconsciously incompetent of driving to a point that you're consciously competent of driving. You understand? So you know the accelerator, brake, clutch, and all that kind of stuff. So when you're learning that, you can't do it right. But you get to a point whereby next thing you know, raw, how did I get here? Yeah, because you were driving. You totally forget you're driving because the muscle memory is kicked in. You know how to drive. So to get to that level of proficiency when it comes to this kit is not easy. It is not easy. And so I always recommend to people who want to get into the live streaming arena, you know, into the live streaming arena, keep it as very, very simple. And the easiest way you can stream is straight from your phone. Take a look at your iPhone, your Android phone, whatever the phone you have, you can live stream straight off that. And then you can start building by getting an external microphone, a lavalier mic, you see what I mean? And then you've already improved in the sound quality. So you're understanding sound, you know, because you're a free range, you're moving around, you're mobile, you can sort out lighting as you're walking around your house and whatnot. Then you can start then saying, okay, fine, I want to be stationary. Start thinking of a stand for your iPhone. You see what I mean? And then start growing and building, then start replacing. And you, as Everton says, that he likes to max out the capabilities of his kit first before he upgrades it. So the journey for myself, and I think everybody will be able to elaborate as well, was we did start with my mobile phones.
Yeah.
We did start with our mobile phones.
In actual yeah. We did, yeah.
That's where it started, right?
We literally started before mobile phones. I remember when I first started producing my shows, I used Keynote graphics packages like Photoshop and a microphone, and that was just pure narration. And it was about unpacking how these patterns would work for a Nintendo system. This was before the Nintendo Switch came out, and we was really trying to deep dive on what the potential possibilities of these game systems would be. And I remember although it was on trend, it was one of those things where there was so much debate going on, but it was almost like there was no general consensus. So everyone was like, oh, it's this, and no, it's that. And then what they kind of needed was a voice of reason that was like, okay, let's look at, instead of saying this is what it actually is, let's look at what it could potentially be. And that's how I started out on this. And that was just images I created. I used photo manipulation. I actually created assets as well. Like I said, I used Maya, I used Motion, I used Keynote, I used Photoshop, and basically just told you what my ideas were and how I came up with these concepts. And then I started sharing it. So that was the other key thing. So that was part of the whole understanding what this mechanic was, how the engagement was going to be working, how we're going to work from that going forwards. So if we just flip this all the way back, I didn't start with a camera. I started with basic tools that I could actually do. Then came the mobile phone, and the mobile phone was my first camera. So when I first went live, all I had was my iPhone. I pointed my iPhone in the direction towards me. I had such bad kind of techniques. The audio was always my weakest point. So as my picture quality started getting better and better, the audio, reverb, all of these, like, it's taken ages for me to get to this point here. You know, you look behind me, I got a lot of sound suppression to suppress reverb in this room. So I've got these filters behind me that kind of absorb sound. But it took a long while to get to a point where my videos, I mean, if you go back on my videos, I believe that they're really good quality, but the weakest point on my videos was always the audio. I'm always adjusting, had different mics. I had, I can't remember the name of the first mic that I had, but it was more of a singing mic than.
Yeah, I had like a karaoke mic. It didn't make no sense. And
and that has a huge impact because I remember my audience, they were always engaged. So I would always engage them in the comment section. So we would all be talking and sharing ideas, and it was really, really good. But the only negative feedback that I would ever get is they would try to tell me how to adjust my microphone. I mean, someone might be even trying to tell me that now. I had one of my friends say that I'm not loud enough, and that's hard for me to recognize, because I'm going through an amplified system, so I can actually hear the volume as loud as I want to hear it. But maybe from there,
Yeah, you sound fine to me, and your levels are coming in. They're not peaking on red, and what you want is get that sweet spot whereby you're going into like the last 20% before you go into the red, before you even start. So that's where you are at anyway. So again, sound as what you're saying is a learning curve, a very steep learning curve. You find that people are more tolerant when it comes to poor visuals than sound. And you can test this out right now. If you've got a blackboard and some chalk and some nails, you run your finger across that blackboard, like your nails across there, make that screeching sound. See what people do. You know, equally so when you have a grainy picture, you know, one that looks like you filmed it in a blizzard. People can tolerate that stuff as long as they can hear what you're saying. As long as they can hear what you're saying. As long as they can hear what you're saying. So the sound, again, for me as well, was one where it was a painful learning curve, because I invested in so many mics. At one point, I've gone through about probably 15 different mics I've gone through, and it's taken me that while. And then not realizing that the mic is just one side of the equation. You got to think about how you amplify the sound coming out the microphone in the first place. Then you got all the preset settings and all of that kind of stuff. So like I said, it takes you a while. But what I really want to get across again is first and foremost, the kit is the kit. We could do shows about technical capabilities of kit, and you can give this Rodecaster mixer, Rode mics, Shure mics, whatever mic you want. It doesn't really matter. You can get the best lighting setup, but in the hands of an amateur, they're not going to use it effectively. It's not one of those things where, do you know what? I'm gonna got 20 grand budget. I'm gonna buy all the latest kit, and I'm going to look professional. You're not going to look professional. In fact, you're probably going to look worse than the iPhone 7 phone, because once you go off automatic settings and you're in the manual world, all your shortcomings come to bear. You know, the lighting itself, you know, when you talk about aperture, you're talking about the color temperature, you're talking about so many aspects just to control the image in the first place. So what I've tried to do is, when I'm going live, is first get my mind right. So the tech, I tried my level best to have resolved any technical issues I'm having with with my technical stuff. But then it comes down to how do I feel inside? You know, what do I want to say? How do I want to say what I want to say? What do my audience expect me to sound like? You know, is there incongruency in between the way I speak and the subject matter I'm trying to deliver? For instance, if I'm talking about death and I'm smiling, you know, there's incongruence there. I'm sending mixed messages. So you do, the hardest part of this going live, pressing that record button, is nothing to do with the technical side of things. Nothing at all. It's getting your mind right. Once you can put your ego to the side and be able to calm down your thoughts and reflect in real time, and then just flow, and not worry too much about being a perfect person or presenting everything. That's right.
You know, the lighting has got to be fine. Look, the lighting has got to be perfect. These things can be huge distractions, and I'm guilty of that on so many occasions. I'm like, oh, I don't know what I want to talk about. I've got millions of things to say. Everyone that talks to me on the phone, we delve into so many different types of topics over and over and over and over again. So finding conversation shouldn't be that difficult, but sometimes when we're just about to press that play button, because we want this show to be perfect, like it's almost like you're visualizing someone else's show. And I remember a little while ago, me and Douglas was having this conversation, and he said, talk like how you normally talk.
That's right.
Because there's so much evidence out there that there's these people that come on and they do a really great show. They talk like they're actors, and then when you talk to them in real life or you catch them off guard, they don't sound like that, and you're like, is this the same person? So the key idea is to, even when we're trying to come live and we're trying to deliver something that's going to be natural, and remember, this is the key thing, it's about being natural. It's hard to just jump straight into a show and you don't feel natural. You feel like it's you've got to be in this mode, and if you have to be in that mode, what happens on the day when you can't get in that mode?
Most definitely. So they're tips, because if you didn't go to stage school and didn't understand the art of going live, performing, because essentially this is what you're doing, you're performing.
Absolutely.
And there are known techniques that you need to embrace. Like I've learned quite a few, and I'm going to share some with you on this session here, right? What I do is when I sit down, and Ev knows I love dragons. Right? So I imagine I have a dragon's tail in the right place. On my behind is a big 20-foot dragon's tail that weighs about 2 tons. So when I sit down, the weight of my tail keeps me grounded. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? So I'm now firm. I'm here and I'm the boss, because I know behind me is a big tail. I'm a dragon. I'm a beast. So I'm going to go and deliver content because I'm weighted. I'm weighty. A lot of people, when they suffer from anxiety before they're speaking, they feel like they're lightheaded. You see what I mean? They start, I'm lightheaded. I feel I'm going to faint. Oh, the trapdoor is going to come and everything, because they don't feel weighty, right? Imagine you have a dragon's tail, and you've sat down there, and you are the boss. You understand? Whether you're male or female, you are the boss. You're there to deliver value. So, like we said, the technical side is only one side of things, but that's not how you engage with anybody. Engagement is all about being authentic. And authenticity comes from being yourself, not being a version of yourself as it relates to a product. Yeah. You should be who you are, no matter what you're pitching. And you look at the greats who have personal brand. And who can name personal brand people? I'll say, whether you like him or not, you can talk about Donald Trump. He speaks exactly the same no matter what he's doing. Whether he's pushing his hotels or golf courses, talks the same thing. Richard Branson, exactly the same. You see what I mean? You talk about Bill Gates, it's exactly the same. There's no different persona. I'm going to talk about Microsoft, so I'm going to talk no, there's none of that. You get Bill Gates. He's who he is, no matter what environment it is. And this is what I really want to get across to people. Just be yourself. And if you lose people on that journey, so be it.
So be it. Yeah.
So be it. Instead of trying to hold on to this fantasy that people actually like you. Don't get this twisted. Nobody likes you until you have offered them so much value in problems that they need solutions for. You see what I mean? If you're talking and you're not presenting a solution to a problem, they'll tune out, because YouTube's #1 algorithm works on the premise of how to do something. You see what I mean? It's a how to do platform. So if you're just going there for the sake of talking or whatever, you can still get your fan base and all that kind of stuff. But typically, it's all about adding value in this space. As long as you feel sincere, you won't get that voice, because I get sometimes self-doubt. Even though I'm a dragon. Yeah.
A dragon?
Yeah, even as a dragon, I get self-doubt, because you can even count the seconds.
Let me just say this to the most of those audience, you don't know, Douglas. Self-doubt. Yeah,
I get self-doubt. No, the doubt's there.
Monumental. Yeah, this is one of those monumental moments where he's actually bearing all. These are the these.
It makes you know you're alive, though. It makes you know that you're alive. And what do you do when you get the doubt? That's what separates the boys or the younglings from the adults.
Adults,
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's what you do when you get the doubt. When I get the doubt, I do it anyway. but I'm conscious that I'm either nervous. I'm conscious. I really acknowledge my nervousness and still do it anyway. And
Say something. Sorry,
well,
let me just jump in with this one statement. You know, even though Douglas is giving you a solution to that to alleviate anxiety, he'll also be the first to tell you that it's not just a one solution. There are multiple different ways to try to climb past that barrier. You know, one of the ones that I do, because I remember the first time Douglas sent me to Toastmasters. Without that, you wouldn't have none of these shows. And it was kind of like a test to see how, not for more like a self-discovery of where I am and how I can project myself going forwards. And one of the things that I remember going up to do my first icebreaker, and I'm always nervous. No matter what happens, my confidence comes straight after nervousness. That's just my quirk. I'm never always super confident at the beginning. Confidence always comes from nervousness for me. And I remember this statement that Mike Tyson made. He said, when I walk into the ring, I am scared. I am terrified at the beginning. But as I get closer to the ring, I start to lose some of that terror. I start to gain some of that confidence. And then I see the chink in their armor. For me, the chink in the armor is my adversary. My adversary is the stage. The stage is for me to go there and conquer. So when I come onto that stage, all of that fear is gone the moment I open my mouth. And I know no matter how many times I go through this process, the confidence that I get is I know what the end result is going to be. So no matter how terrifying it starts to become at the beginning, even about pressing record or going live like we're going live right now, I know that once we get started, that is it. It's that whole Geronimo effect. You just leap. There is, if you start thinking, oh, but maybe if I hang on here, no, just jump. And then it will start, because once you're in, you're in. And then that part of the fear disappears.
Most definitely. Well said. And got a comment here from YB, the MC Gaming. How do you overcome self-doubt, sensei? So I think Ev just broke it down, but I'll just add to that. There's a toolkit. Your job as a human being is to assemble your toolkit. Your toolkit has different tools for different occasions. It's not one tool that does everything like a Swiss Army knife. No, that dragon's tail works for me in certain environments that I can control. But I've got other techniques. I've delivered presentations in front of hundreds, and that dragon's tail didn't work. I had to look at myself in the mirror and literally go, ba, bee, ba, bo, boo, to the point that I started laughing. Yeah? I laugh at myself because you say it so loud, it loosens the tongue. It loosens the tongue. Then you go out there, your tongue is ready now, able to deliver. And you're not stuttering as much because you've already warmed up the vocal cords. That's something that I learned from people who go stage school. Just go ba, bee, ba, bo, boo, really loud, or do the alphabet with your mouth open without shutting it. All these things that you can do, star jumps in the mirror, all these things. What you're trying to do is this. As a sentient being, right, we have to acknowledge the fact that there's a physicality to how we experience the world, right? So when you're anxious, nervous, and going through all of these issues, it will play out in some sort of physical way. Typically, you're breathing. That's why you see people hyperventilate and say, have a bag. Yeah, breathe through the bag. Get your breathing right. So how do you get your breathing right? Take deep breaths in through the nose. Control it. It's a conscious breath. Right now we're breathing and talking, but you're not consciously doing it. You're just doing it, because it's automatic. But have you ever taken a conscious, thought that, right, do you know what? The next breath, I'm going to actually concentrate, but breathing in through the nose, controlling it, then exhaling through the mouth, for about 10 seconds. Do that 3 times. Your rhythm, your heart rate starts to get back to normal. And then now your anxiety has no physical proof to exist. Because what happens with anxiety is this. Your heart rate starts going through the roof. It's evidence for your anxiety to exist. To say, look, you are going to have a heart attack on stage. You are going to fluff your lines. Look, you can't even breathe right. You know what I mean? But once you're still You've controlled your breathing. Anxiety has lost some of its hold on you. Then when you accept that you're anxious, and as Ev said, you're going to do it anyway, it kind of now backs off. Because what you want to do is present as enough evidence to that part of your mind. Remember this crop brain. It's crop brain, yeah? You know, you could call it crop brain, you could call it chimp brain, whatever, whichever way is your persuasion, right? When that kicks in, that part of you is only designed to do three things. Yeah? Protect you from impending danger, yeah? Keep you alive, yeah? And procreate. You understand? So when you're in a situation that's foreign to you, yeah, like going live, who's watching? How many ears are going to be on this thing? You're terrified. Guess what? Crop brain kicks in. Logic goes out the window. You'll be conjuring up demons that don't exist. You'll be making up excuses not to go on that stage and deliver content. You'll be making excuses. Oh, do you know what? I got tired of my room. I'd rather do the dishes. You know, oh, do you know what? I need to go for a walk. Let me render some more files. Let me call Ev. And see what we could talk about today. And then I'm going to keep him on the phone long enough to say, oh, no, I've missed my slot now. I'll do it tomorrow. This is procrastination.
Do you know what? That was funny because there's a book called The Magic of Big Thinking. And one of the lines that relates to this subject is that you have two geniuses in your head from the minute you wake up in the morning. And these two geniuses will define what you're going to do next, but they're going to rationalize it in such a scientific way that you are going to be convinced by one of them. So either you're going to wake up in the morning, you're going to be like positive genius, and everything is going to flow in that line. The day is bright, so I'm going to do this, and this, and I'm going to execute those, and you're going to do them. And it will give you every plausible reason as to why, and that's going to be your convincing day. But equally, you can have your negative genius, and he will give you every why you shouldn't do this. Oh, but this happened, and the mic is crackling, so I'm not going to go live today. Oh, I just pressed this button and it didn't work, so that's a plausible reason why I'm not going to press record and execute this today. You've got these two geniuses. The question is, which one do you want to listen to? And sometimes it can be hard because, like Douglas said, when your amygdala hijacks your logical
cortex,
the frontal cortex, you got to understand that although it's primitive, it's the earliest part of your brain. It works faster than you can actually think, and this is why you do have to do these breathing exercises when you feel like your anxiety levels are getting high. It's good to try to take a breath, even get yourself to be in a position of pausing, because pausing is really, even when we went to Toastmasters, that was the key thing. If you're going to do a speech, pause. It gives you a second, 2 seconds to think. And as long as you start keeping those techniques in place, like pause. Okay, so the first thought that popped into your head doesn't become the first reaction, because the first thought that pops into your head might not be the right thought. You sometimes got to give yourself time to reevaluate what it is that you're doing. And then that might break the anxiety and therefore give you a better opportunity to say what it is that you really want to say.
Yeah, because everything that you're experiencing in that state is not real. It's fear. As we know, the acronym false evidence appearing real. That's what's happening to you. And to recognize that, to get past the fear, is where you need courage. You need courage to do that. And some people succumb to the courage, flight or flight kicks in, but in acknowledging it, first and foremost, they say this about everything in life. If you don't acknowledge something, you can never deal with it. Even on a relationship level, you come home after work, you're tired, had a hard day at work. You open the door and your partner's there, and your partner is screaming their head off, yeah? And you don't acknowledge that they're screaming their head off. How long do you think you're going to last in that house without an argument? How long do you think you're going to last? You can count. You can actually count the seconds. Because what will happen is you don't appreciate me, you don't even acknowledge I exist, blah, blah, blah. Acknowledgement is so, so important. So you first have to be able to acknowledge yourself that you exist. You see what I mean? And when you're doing that, you'll then look in your internal toolbox, and pick the right tool for the right application. You know, because it's not one size fits all. There are techniques that I've yet to learn. And if you guys got any techniques of your own, please, just because the whole point of doing this thing is you got so many tools for any situation. You just bring them out mentally, internally. Nobody sees you actually going for the wrench or whatever it is, but they suddenly see a switch in your personality that you are ready to go. Because when you are going live, you might feel naked, and this is where imposter syndrome starts to kick in. Yeah. Who am I?
Who am I?
Who am I to deliver this content? Yeah. Who am I? You know, what gives me the credibility to talk on this subject? I'm going to be exposed like somebody Scottish wearing a kilt with no underwear. I'm going to be exposed in public, and that embarrassment is going to just kill my whole career. That stops probably 80% of people even putting out YouTube videos. That's why you see, that's why you see the kids. That's why you see the kids have no issue, have less of an issue with this new technology and going live. It's the old fossils that have deep-grained negativity, deep-grained self-doubt, deep-grained issues around confidence that are struggling. You know, you see a kid in 1 week, they've gone live 7 days straight. Every day they've gone live. And you're like,
and you're struggling to do just the one video.
You're struggling on the one show. And you're watching the growth. You're watching the growth over a year, thinking, right, the show was a bit rubbish, but now it's in the studio. Oh my God. Now it's driving a Lamborghini, and now it's in Malibu. And this time you haven't moved.
True.
But you got the intellect. You got the life skills. Do you understand? It's because you're hardened. You've been fossilized in your own demise. You see what I mean? You need to go back and be that kid. Be that kid that was 12.
D, when I first went to university, sorry, not the first time I went to university, but when I went back to university, one of the pieces of advice that Douglas told me was get over yourself.
Get over yourself.
You have learned, everything you have learned in the past, get rid of it. Be a sponge to new knowledge. That is the best advice I could give to anyone else out there. Be a sponge to new knowledge. The first year I was at university, I was far from the smartest person in the class, and actually I was the dumbest person in the class because some of the people in my class had experience in the field, and that's
where all the cool ones at. All the dumb people, the ones that don't know nothing. You know? You could have the best conversation with someone that doesn't know nothing.
But I had a really good class, and they also taught me things in health. That's why I've now become quite proficient in health in itself. But these are some of these ideas, some of these concepts, whether they be positive or negative, they are the things that you perceive. So if you cannot get over yourself, if you cannot give yourself that moment to say, okay, it's okay not to be the smartest one, but what can I do with this? How can I learn? How can I expand what I know? There was an anime cartoon that I like to watch called Kuroki no Basket, which is a basketball cartoon. Yeah. And me and Douglas, we do like our animes because there are so many jewels in really well-written in dialogue. And one of the statements that this guy who's a brilliant basketball player said is, the only person that can beat me is me. That one statement carries wider, like it's so much more broader than just a statement that is used in that cartoon or in that context. Because for me, I no longer thought about challenging anyone else or trying to be the smartest in the class. All I wanted to do was get better. And the only person that can beat me was me. So wherever I was or wherever I am at that point in time, if I want to get better than that, the only person that can beat me is me. And that became a mantra. The only person that can beat me is me. So I jumped from 50 to 60 to 70s to 85s. Now I'm a first class student at standard. But that's because the only person that could get me to that next level is me. I'm not discounting anyone else's help and support, but the work has to be done by me. So the only person that can beat me is me.
Well said. Well said. And I totally agree. I have a similar saying to that one, and it goes. In fact, I plagiarized it from a popular rapper called Cannabis, and he says, the only thing that can hold you back is your cells. And when he says it in a way that you think is yourself, but it's not talking about yourself, it's your cells. Your cells, your actual physical cells. Everything else you can sort out. If you got weak genes, weak cells, and that keep you in a state whereby you cannot mobilize yourself, maybe being a ski slope skier is difficult for you, but it doesn't mean you can't do it, but it can hold you back. It's your cells. So what you then got to do is look at this. This is all about exposing some of the things that prevent us from pushing the record button, because the record button is something that induces fear, right? So another technique I use is one whereby I consider how I'll feel if I don't execute on my targets. Yeah. And I visualize how I'll be feeling. And that fear normally is far worse than me pressing record. Because I visualize actually the embarrassment of not doing it, the shame, the guilt, is far worse. So I'd rather not feel like that. I don't like that feeling of not hitting my marks. I'd rather go through the pain and press record. Another technique, which is probably the more universally accepted technique for everything you're doing in creation, in the creative elements, or everything you're doing in life at the end of the day, is first start look at your value system. Yeah, look at your value system. What do you value? Yeah, what are your values and principles? Because typically, what tends to happen is when people don't have their value systems clearly defined, they can chop and change at any given moment, and they never know who they are. You see, when I say the dragon's tail, I said you quite clearly, I'm a dragon. Yeah, and even as I sit down this in my head, I've got the sound effects coming in, THX, Dolby Atmos. It's going boom. Do you understand? All surround sound, but that's what's going on in my head. And I think like a dragon. So I know the value system of a dragon. Yeah. So what is your value system? What are you for? What are you against? Because when your lips and your thoughts dry up, you go back to your value system.
Absolutely.
And then you find that the passion comes, because your passion comes from your value system. Yeah. If you're in this game to help people get the full benefits of gaming, anytime you're tongue tied, just go back to your value system. Yeah, I just want to remind y'all that we're here to, inspire the younger generation to play games in a more safer way and be, and as you're saying it, everything starts coming back to you. So your values, your principles, and your beliefs, and also make sure that you hang around with people that complement those capabilities. If you have if you start off with a bad genius, as they've say, metaphorical, a bad genius day, yeah, that dominates your optics, the way you visualize the world that you're in for that day. But you happen to only bounce into people that also are having a bad genius day. How are you going to go back home and create anything? How are you going to have an optimistic day? You're not. You're not. See, you got to surround yourself with people that vibrate at frequencies that support growth, that support development. And that means tough decisions. To be in this game is brutal. I can't afford one negative thought. Right now my phone is on airplane mode. If I turn it off airplane mode, there are a ton of family issues, friends issues, work issues, just waiting to occupy my bandwidth. You understand what I'm saying to you? So for me to create, I also have to respect my own space and how fragile I am. Just the same way if you're doing nothing and you're channel surfing, you can channel surf until the morning. If you just Google surfing, you could Google until the morning. If you're binge watching TV, you can binge watch until the morning. Then you're like, oh my God, look at the time that's gone by. You see what I'm saying to you? So please, your time is precious. Don't hang around people that don't also respect your own time. And the last tip I'll give on this one, going live, is when I'm really, really nervous, really, really nervous. This is something my dad told me. When I was doing my GCSEs, I was a nervous wreck. I couldn't deal with it. Right. So my dad said to me, just do this, Douglas, just do this. And it sticks with me as well. When I'm really, 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 really nervous, I tell myself I'm on a mission. And I got the Mission Impossible music playing in my head, right? And I'm on a mission to do some reconnaissance. That's my mission. My mission's only to go and find out what that thing that's scaring me is and come back and tell my dad. That's it. So my job for my math, science, history, GCSE level was just to go, sit down, find out what it's about, come home and tell my dad. That's what he wanted me to do. Just it's your job just to find out what it's like. Tell me how you're feeling, what the people look like, what was it like writing the questions, writing the answers, what was it like, and come back and tell him. That is a paradigm shift in your mindset, because now it's okay. I'm only here to find out you guys actually studying, you guys actually sweating, but my job, I'm only here to find out what you guys are experiencing. So you're nervous, you look like you're gonna fail, you're definitely gonna fail. Oh, there are questions here. I know the answer. Next thing you know, I'm writing. Next thing you know, I've done it like properly. And I've left there and I've left nothing on the table so that I could go back and tell my dad exactly what it's like to write GCSEs. You see what I mean? So that's what you could do sometimes when you go live. Visualize you going there just to find out what it's like to press the live button. So you can tell somebody how you are feeling. And you'll find that, you know what, sooner or later, that record button, you know, it doesn't look as ominous as it did before. It doesn't look as threatening as it was before, you know, because you've been there before. Yeah. You're looking stunned.
Wow.
Wow.
No, that was well articulated. So yeah, I mean, it mirrors
record.
part of my it mirrors part of my
That's
experience, because you know, why did I start YouTubing? Why did I do that? I'm telling everyone else how to do it. Because Dean knows when it comes to the technical know-how, I'm very much that type of person. I will figure out.
I spent probably the first 6 months recording material, plagiarizing everything. I used to phone him up. I'd try out all my material. I used to try out all my material first and everything.
Sometimes I'm going to use this word. He used to pee me off. Yeah.
So I use it as practice. I say, yeah. Do you know, F, you guess what?
That's going to be a show.
Before F didn't even realize it, it's uploaded on YouTube.
He would argue with me about something. And we would get into this heated debate. And then after this, that's the show. That's going to be a show. Or, I would talk to him about, he would say to me, what happened in your day? Because I was traveling up to Norwich for university, and he was like, what's happening in your day and stuff like that. So I was start talking to him, and I'll explain to him some of the things that I've learned. And so he goes, that's going to be a show. And he used to have this line that says, nothing gets wasted.
Nothing gets wasted. We eat everything here. We eat everything here. There's nothing we waste here in this content oriented world. Nothing. You know, we grew up on You Being Framed. That video where you see somebody falling down, they wanted to erase it, but they've got $200 for playing that on television. So no, we don't. We waste nothing in this space. We're here to add value, and I'm conscious of time. We've been talking for a while, but you guys out there, if you have any tips that for this is about motivation anyway, inspiring you to just push life, because there's somebody out there that needs to hear your voice. Think about that. There's somebody out there just waiting to hear your story told in a way that resonates with them, for them to shift their mindset. You know, there's somebody out there and because because if you think like that, you're like now compelled to be that voice. You're not gonna be the voice for everybody. I resonate to certain stories, certain films, certain games I play. I resonate differently. And because there are like 7 billion people on the planet, there's plenty of scope for you being yourself. Don't be a fraud, because don't be a fraud, because that little voice that comes in is typically telling you you're a fraud. Yeah. If you want to do an experiment, we could do an experiment right now before we stop pressing record. If you visualize, if I asked you, anyone that's listening, to get a stopwatch ready, just get a stopwatch ready, right? Or somewhere we can count seconds. If you get something like that ready, quick experiment, just to show you how good cop, bad cop, good genius, bad genius, whichever way you look at it, yin and yang, whatever, work. Check this out. I want you to visualize a goal, an aspiration, right? And if this goal is not big, it won't move me. It won't move you. So this goal got to be out there. Like, if you can imagine anything for yourself, I want you to think about that thing right now, you doing that. Yeah? And then hold it. Start your clock. Start your stopwatch. I want you to count how many seconds before the self-doubt comes in. But look at you. You're female. You're overweight. You're black. You're disabled. You got no money. Count the seconds. Do you remember? You just had a positive thought. You can literally count the seconds before the negative thoughts come in. That shows you, no matter how positive you are, you have that component of being negative. It comes with you. So you need to protect yourself, shield yourself from that. And even now, if you know your one is 6 seconds, my one's like 2.5 seconds. Yeah, I know it's there. But because I know it's there and coming, I greet it. I go, yeah, there you go again with the negative thoughts. I'm going to do it anyway. You see what I mean? But the majority of people will get their negative thought and they'll sit down and not produce anything. But now you know it's going to come no matter what you think. It's going to come. You can be waiting for it. You can actually give it a name. I worked alongside the art therapist with young kids. And one of the therapies she took young kids is to draw that negative voice, that negative image that they have of themselves, to actually draw it. Then when they draw it, they give it a name, like Kevin, like Oscar. You see what I mean? And they go, oh, there goes Oscar again. If their negative thought, their negative talk. And because they've gone through the counseling around how to manage those negative thoughts, they know when to respond and how to respond to those negative thoughts. But again, you know, we can do these shows all night because there are tons, absolutely tons. That is why your why becomes the most fundamental thing you can ask yourself. Why are you doing this? You know, when you press record, why are you doing it? Why are you doing it? Really, come on. If you got no answer to your why, no. If you got no answer to your why, don't press record. Yeah, because you don't know why you're doing it. If one of your fans asks you, why are you doing it? He said, I don't know. So maybe before you press record, ask yourself, figure out your why.
Answer. I just wanted to add something onto that whole experiment that Douglas presented just a moment ago. There was one key statement that he made. He said, if your goal is not big enough, it won't resonate. So what will happen is, I kind of multitask. I don't normally multitask as much, but I put 2 goals in. And the first goal was to do what I knew I was going to do anyway.
It's not a goal.
No doubt. There you go. With no doubt. There was no doubt. That's why I wanted to make sure that sometimes when someone tells you, tell me what your goal is, don't do the coward thing and present a goal you know you can do. Because then there won't be no doubt, because you can do it. What you got to look at is a goal that you want to achieve, because that's when the doubt comes in. You want to get a £1 million house, but you live in a council house. Even if you're going to start earning that money, the doubt will still come. Even if you are earning that money, the doubt will still come because you've not done it.
It has to frighten you.
Has to frighten you. And
it has to frighten you. If you're not terrified, if you're not terrified, thanks for adding that, because if you're not terrified, right? I should read any book for any person that's a high performer, high earner. They'll tell you their goals are frightening. Their goals are so frightening they can't sleep. Now you got to ask yourself this question. Now, for those of you who struggle to put out content, or put out content once a year, right? It's because your goal is not terrifying you that you can't sleep. You see what I mean? If it was terrifying you to the point that you can't sleep, you would record. If your goal was to be the #1 voice on YouTube, best believe, and it will frighten you to the point that shit, I need to record something today. I have to press record. But because the goal is business as usual, it's not a goal. It's what you're going to do anyway. It's like breathing. So guess what happens? You're in your comfort zone. You're not going to move. You're not going to stretch. You know, everything that surrounds you right now is based upon things that you know. Everything. You're surrounded by what you know. So everything that you want to get in life, it's going to be based upon things that you do not know. There's something you do not know. That's why you're not in a £1 million house.
There you go.
There's something that you do not know. That's why you're not driving a Bugatti. If these are things that you want, you see what I'm saying to you? I'm not materialistic, but I'm saying if these are things that you want and you don't have them, because there's knowledge that you've not known and applied. So knowledge without application means nothing. So you got to get the knowledge and apply it. Then you can start reflecting on it. You see what I mean?
One more time. Where's the glass? Normally there'll be like a mic drop. Boom.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep it. That's my diversity mic drop for today, yeah, because you know we've got some yardies in the house, so we have to keep it. Got to keep the yardies happy. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But anyway. But that's what we're trying to say here. You have to expect pushbacks, and you know, surround yourself with people that inspire you, that can give you that energy boost, that want you to succeed. And sometimes that's not going to include your family members. Remember, you did nothing to inherit your family. I don't care who you are, whether you're the royal family or whatever it is. They did nothing. You did nothing to inherit your family that you're born into. You're right, but you can choose your friends.
I got to stop you. We've got to save that for the next show, because the last time we discussed this topic.
Oh yeah, I got slaughtered. I got slaughtered. But you know,
all right.
You choose your friends wisely and go out there. Keep pushing out content. This is Douglas Sam, DJ from the Mic Drop Club. EVB.
This is Everton Barton, EVB. Check out my channel. Yes, I am coming back. I am going to be producing more content. If there's anything that I learned from this conversation today, is press record. Thank you.
We out.
We out.